Your Excellency Eliud Williams, former President of the Commonwealth of Dominica, and Mrs. Williams. Honorable members of Cabinet and spouses. Honorable Lennox Linton, Leader of the Opposition, and Mrs. Linton. Honorable Sarah Floyd Bobre, Minister for External Affairs of St. Lucia. Your Excellencies, the members of the Diplomatic and Consular Corps, and other visiting dignitaries and spouses. Dr. Carissa Etienne, Director, Pan American Health Organization, and Mr. Gregoire. Your Worship, Mayor Irene John and Mr. John. Chairpersons of commissions, His Excellency Steve Farrell, Secretary to the Cabinet, and Mrs. Farrell. Permanent Secretaries and spouses. Pastor Jean-Jacques, who prayed for us from the Dominica Association of Evangelical Churches, awardees, distinguished guests, members of the media, fellow Dominicans, ladies and gentlemen, friends all, good evening. My fellow Dominicans, let us give God praise that we can sit here in this beautiful and wonderful stadium to celebrate our 41st year of independence in a country that is rejuvenated and transforming, in a country that has faced the worst that nature has thrown at us, yet still we are standing. Standing and prospering, standing and modernizing, standing and resilient. To God be the glory, great things He has done. Today, we gather to give thanks, to reflect and to celebrate. We gather to take stock and reconnect. We gather to look forward. Like the psalmist, we know without a doubt that, and I quote, the eyes of the Lord are right, and His ears are attentive to the cry, end quote. The righteous person may have many troubles, but the Lord delivers him from them, end quote. We therefore reaffirm our faith and give thanks for who we are, a humble, generous, grateful people. So blessed by that we are people. Dominica as a country can be to His goodness. Can you turn this? Turn it off, please. We give thanks that we are moving steadily forward. Sometimes on important occasions, we look outward. But there's a time when it is also necessary to look inward and to look back in order to develop a heightened sense of appreciation for what we have, to get a clear perspective before we move forward, and in fact, to help us to determine how best to move forward. Today is such a time. My fellow citizens, as I sat and reflected on our country's development since independence, I marveled at how far we have come, at how we have triumphed, notwithstanding the significant challenges that have been thrown at us: hurricanes, earthquakes, floods, the demise of the banana industry, and the world's financial crisis. I also sat and pondered that of the 41 years of our independence, this Labour Party that I have the honor to lead has been at the helm of governance of this country for the last 19 years, and these years have led to development and progress for our country. I recall that in 2000, we had a poor road network with poorly lit streets, and now we have a well-developed network of major roads around the island, which is the envy of many Caribbean countries. There are street lights in every community and on our highways. I recall how we struggled to educate our children. And as I thought, a smile came to my face as I realized that in the last 19 years, we have not only ensured universal access to education at the secondary school level, but at the tertiary level as well. All Dominicans can now attend the Dominica State College free of charge. A college that compares favorably to any community college in the United States of America. We have built and upgraded our schools' facilities, and our children are able to undertake their studies in comfort. I recall the days our students had to set off early from home and walk in the rain or under the sun for miles to get to and from school. But this is no more, because this government ensured that school buses are provided to get them safely to and from school. I recall the days when students had to borrow each other's textbooks to do their homework and to study. When children stayed away from school because they had no clothes or shoes. When they wore hand-me-downs that were too small or too big for them. But this government ensured that support was given, that school transfer grants are provided, and free textbooks and uniforms and shoes to those who need it. As I sat, I recall with a sense of satisfaction the decision that this Labour Party government took to ensure that there is at least one university graduate in every household in Dominica. This was a deliberate decision, as we realized that the key to get out of poverty and into prosperity is an education, a well-educated population. Over the past 19 years, has provided scholarships to thousands of students to pursue degrees in various fields, and we have worked with friendly governments to make even more scholarships available to our people. Today, we can boast that this goal is largely achieved. We have Dominicans with first degrees, masters, and even PhDs. We also place special emphasis on our indigenous people. And now our Kalinagos are represented in the highest positions in our public service, as doctors and nurses at our hospitals, as lawyers and engineers, and as permanent secretaries. Just as the next generation will stand on our shoulders, their education, training, and knowledge will allow them to pick up the baton of nation building and push the country up on their shoulders, so that the generation which follows them will have the tools, skills, capacity, and desire to build an even stronger, more resilient, more prosperous Dominica. When we secure the education of our young people, we are building a stronger society and economy and securing the future of the nation. And so I continue to reflect on reflecting and thought of our health system. I recall the days when some people, particularly our elderly, were afraid to access the hospital because they owed fees or couldn't afford to pay. And I thought of what obtains today. This Labour Party government has ensured that every Dominican, 18 years and younger, and 60 years and older, has free access to health care in our country. We have made major investments in upgrading health facilities, in training our nurses and doctors, and in providing critical drugs to our people free of charge. I thought of how our elderly were being neglected and how this government introduced the Yes We Care program, where caregivers could go into the homes to ensure that their homes were clean, that they had food to eat, and someone to talk to. I thought of how I thought of how we have recently trained community health aides who will assist in the care of our sick and the elderly, who will provide advice to people to care for themselves properly in order to reduce the incidence of chronic diseases such as diabetes and high blood pressure. And so I continued to reflect, and I thought of the actions that we have taken to improve the quality of life of our people. I recalled our pit latrine eradication program, our resolve to ensure that every household in Dominica had access to potable water, and that it was almost 100% achieved when it was set back by the hurricane. And I thought of the housing revolution and the thousands of homes that we have built over the years and the support that we have provided to others to build or repair the homes. The special loan facilities that we have provided for public officers. I thought of the quality, resilient homes that are being provided for displaced persons and those living in extremely vulnerable areas. I thought of the mammoth task of resettling 2 entire communities displaced by Tropical Storm Erica, and my heart was light because I know that these families who lost so much are now residing comfortably in a new resilient community that will keep them safe from storms or hurricanes. I thought back to my decision in 2004 to recognize and adhere to the One China principle, which is a position in international law, and we have consistently advocated since then for the peaceful reunification of the whole of China. Over the last 15 years, the People's Republic of China has been a steadfast friend and development partner, providing support to us with no preconditions. With the provision largely of grant funding, they have built the stadium in which we hold this ceremony today. And in which Dominica has hosted international cricket matches and international games. They have built schools, roads and bridges, provided scholarships and technical support and training. A few months ago, the first phase of the grant-funded US $40 million Dominica-China Friendship Hospital was handed over to us. I am sure that many of you who have seen it or visited there will agree that it meets international standards. It looks like any hospital in any developed metropolitan city. And Mr. Ambassador, please convey to President Xi and the government of China the gratitude of the government and people of Dominica for your continued support and solidarity. And so, in deep contemplation, I thought of the record number of visitors that we have had for this independence season. I am told that more than 6,000 visitors attended the successful staging of the World Creole Music Festival a few nights ago. I want to say thank you to Minister Tong and his team who did a fabulous job with our Creole Festival this year. And I thought back to 19 years ago when the then Melville Airport had to be shut down at dusk, when routinely Dominicans had to overnight in Barbados or Antigua because no planes could land after sunset in Dominica. I thought fondly of our good relationship with the Bolivarian Republic of Venezuela, who sent personnel and equipment to our shores and who provided the funding for the expansion of the airport, and who has supported the people of Dominica in so many ways, in housing, with Petrocaribe, and with our social projects. Mr. Ambassador, we will always be eternally grateful to the government and people of Venezuela, and we pledge our continued support to you as you continue to struggle to overcome your challenges and return Venezuela to a prosperous country for the benefit of all its citizens. I thought also of the great relationship and the benefits of the European Union, which provided funding for the lighting and upgrade of the airport terminal building. And as I sat and looked out at the beautiful green mountains, I had a flashback to Dominica as it looked on the 19th of September 2017, after Hurricane Maria had stripped every leaf from every tree and ripped off even the backs of trees. A storm that had caused damage and destruction throughout our land, leaving no one untouched, and that left Dominica looking like a war zone. And again, I smiled, because God was with us then, and He is with us now, ladies and gentlemen. This country has survived Maria. We have shown that our people are resilient, that Dominica is coming back bigger and better, and that we can and will transform Dominica into the first climate resilient country. Because I must say to you that climate change is real. The refusal or failure of industrialized countries to change harmful practices that is causing the warming of our planet will continue to feed more frequent and ferocious storms our way. We saw the devastation caused to the islands of our sister country, the Bahamas. Climate change poses a direct threat to our continued existence. And while we continue to advocate for the world to honor the commitments of the Paris Accord, we have to take positive steps to build our own resilience. There are important partners who are sharing the stage with us this evening, who have committed to working with us to help us realize this goal. And so we thank and encourage them to walk this journey with us. I recognize the People's Republic of China, Cuba, and Venezuela, the European Union, the United Kingdom, the United States of America, New Zealand, Japan, Canada, and Australia. I recognize the Foreign Minister of our sister island of St. Lucia, who is here with us today, and the representatives of Switzerland, Nigeria, Indonesia, and Nicaragua. Since Maria, this government has been executing a very deliberate plan to ensure the complete recovery and transformation of Dominica, and that plan, I am pleased to say, is working. In 1979, when Hurricane David flattened newly independent Dominica, it set back our development by decades. Those of us who experienced it will recall the many months that we had to line up to receive brogodo and ration, the years of displacement, the thousands of Dominicans who fled and never returned. Within days of Hurricane Maria, we were able to order food for our people because we had cash reserves available to us then, and this was supplemented by foreign aid. We were able to immediately mobilize to begin the clearing and cleanup process. Because of our excellent relations with our friends and international partners, we received an outpouring of support from our CARICOM family, from Venezuela, Cuba, from the French, the Dutch, the United Kingdom, the EU, from the US and Canada, from countries as far as China, Japan, India, and Russia. Many other countries came to our aid as well. Numerous organizations and NGOs, some of whom are still with us on island. We saw a massive mobilization of support for Dominicans resident overseas and friends of Dominica. To all those who have contributed in one way or the other to our recovery, I say to you that Dominica is grateful. We thank you so very much for your kind support. We have restored confidence that Dominica is open for business. We have seen businesses recovering and new ones starting up, and even Dominicans from the diaspora returning and setting up business here in our country. And as I continue to reflect, I thought of the challenges that we have faced to attract foreign direct investments, our small size and population, high electricity costs, difficulties of air access, and again, I smile. We have had a citizenship by investment program since 1993. In 2002, we decided to introduce a variation to the program. We recognized that tourism was an important revenue earner for our country and that there was need to improve our tourism infrastructure to be able to attract more stayover visitors. We therefore introduced a real estate option under the program, which was designed to encourage the development of five-star hotels in Dominica. In 2015, we signed an agreement with Range Developments for a 160-room, five-star resort under the luxury European Kempinski brand hotel. I was pleased to participate in the official opening of that resort last evening at Cabrit in Portsmouth. And I dare say that this resort rivals any five-star hotel anywhere in this world. The hard work and skill of Dominican artisans are visible throughout the property. I said to the audience yesterday, and I repeat it here because it is important, that when the other hotel and tourism projects on the West Coast are complete, Dominica will have its own platinum coast to attract and cater to luxury travelers from around the world and provide employment and entrepreneurship opportunities for our citizens residing here and in the diaspora. In addition to Kempinski, we have the Moroccan Hotel, the Anachi Marriott Resort, the Hilton by Curio, Secret Bay Residences, and Sanctuary Rainforest and Eco Resort and Spa. Those of you who have been to the hotel or who have gone to that area will see how that part of the island is being transformed. Today, Sam Raphael will receive an award for services to his country. I want to say a special thank you to him because he is an example of what can be achieved with hard work and determination and an enabling environment which this government has created. We all know that Jungle Bay in Dalis was destroyed by Erica. We all know that Sam Raphael was a supporter of the United Workers' Party. But even though I knew he was not supporting me, I reached out to him and offered support to him to rebuild. Because I recognized that he had a good product, that he was creating jobs in our country and bringing foreign direct investment to Dominica. I recognized that he was doing good for our country, Dominica. Today, Jungle Bay Soufriere was the first project under the CBI program to open its doors to visitors. I encourage all to visit because it is a marvelous property built to be eco-friendly, luxurious, and inviting. Last Friday, we attended a groundbreaking ceremony of the Sanctuary Eco Resorts, which will be built in Loda, in the Roseau Valley. Land has already been purchased for the construction of a Marriott at the old Public Works Garage site in Woodbridge Bay. And Range Developments are considering building a new 130-room resort next door to Kempinski in Portsmouth. All of these projects will be done under our CBI program. I spoke earlier about our housing revolution and the significant investments that we have made in housing. After Erica and Mosso Maria, the vulnerabilities in the housing sector were made more apparent. We realized that the government had to ramp up its assistance to our citizens in that area. We have committed to building 5,000 homes in 5 years, and we are well on our way to making this happen for our people. We have utilized the CBI program not only to build a resilient community of 341 units in Bellevue-Chopin, but to build apartment complexes and homes all over the country, ensuring that every community is catered for. Since Hurricane Maria, we have been able to put many families into newly constructed, resilient homes, which will ensure their safety and security. We are giving our citizens not a handout, but a hand up. We are fulfilling the Sustainable Development Goals to ensure that everyone has decent housing, access to services, and a reasonable quality of life. So I say to you that the CBI program has been extremely beneficial to Dominica. It is something that we must all defend and protect as an important source of foreign investment into our country. We have made additional investments in housing, utilizing the precast concrete that has allowed us to build resilient homes in record time in St. Joseph, Point Michelle, and the Kalinago territory. Many more homes will be built, and a company building them will invest in a factory in Dominica that can supply homes locally and for export. We also have a housing project that has been implemented with the support of the World Bank. With all of these investments taking place, particularly in tourism, it opens many possibilities for farmers and fisherfolk to provide all the fruits and vegetables and fresh fish that the hotels need. The government has continued to provide tangible support to that sector. In addition to the low-interest loans available at the Aid Bank at 2% and a grace period of 6 months to begin repayment, after Maria, we were able to negotiate a package of support with the World Bank. Farmers were provided with cash grants totaling $18 million for immediate livelihood support and seeds and inputs to go back to their farms and start replanting. Within 3 months of Maria, we had vegetables and other short-term crops being sold in our markets. I must say to you that I now sing the praises of the World Bank, because while I know they can do more, and I will continue to call on them to do so, after I visited them in Washington after the hurricane and asked for their support, their response was remarkable. A $65 million World Bank funded emergency agricultural livelihoods and climate resilient project for the restoration of livelihoods and resilient building in agricultural sector is now underway. As we know, with these international institutions, it takes some time to realize the projects. The project includes the replacement of boats and engines, restoration of farms and livestock, provision of inputs, and technical support. To that end, I am advised that on November 15th, 70 containers containing fertilizers, seeds, and other tools will arrive in Dominica for distribution to farmers. In addition to this, new ways of doing agriculture is being pursued utilizing greenhouse technology, aquaponics, and aquaculture. We also have requested and received support from the government of Japan to repair, renovate, and equip the Roseau and Marigot fisheries complex. We also expect that with this support, we'll achieve HACCP certification required to sell our goods to the European market. And as I continue to reflect, ladies and gentlemen, and I've thought about all the new opportunities that exist in tourism and agriculture, I consider the importance of the cost of electricity to the viability of business and to attracting new business. We have talked about this for some time now, but as they say, Rome was not built in a day. We have had to weather Ophelia in 2010, the Christmas trough in 2013, Erica in 2015, and the might of Maria in 2017. Yet still, we have not wavered from our plans to harness our geothermal potential, and this fits in fully with our resilience plans. The tender documents are now out for expressions of interest for contractors to build our first geothermal plant in Dominica. We have all of the funding required, and actual construction will begin in the first quarter of 2020. This will result in a significant reduction in the cost of electricity to households and businesses, making it cheaper to do business in Dominica and more attractive for investments in manufacturing. As I continue to consider the building blocks which have steadily been put in place since this administration took on the reins of this country in 2000, I came to the issue of air access. It was never enough, for us to simply introduce night landing. We knew that if we wanted to see Dominica emerge as a leading economy in the Caribbean, we had to address connectivity. Over the last few years, we have been working on this project. We have hired a reputable, experienced American firm to advise us on the best way and best place for sitting an international airport. They have advised us on an area in Woodfordale and Wesley. We have been having discussions and negotiating the funding of the airport with a number of interested parties. Today, ladies and gentlemen, in the year of our Lord 2019, I can announce to you that the government of the People's Republic of China sent a special envoy to me last week to confirm that China will provide the financing to build the international airport for Dominica. It is said, "Seek and you shall find. Knock and the door shall be opened unto you." And the door has been opened for Dominica to build its international airport, ladies and gentlemen. This week, we visited the site, and on 8th of November, they will send a team to review what we have done so far and to look at the next steps. So, my dear friends, with the solid support of the People's Republic of China, Dominica will have its international airport, and we expect that works will begin in earnest in 2020, the year of our Lord. The truth is, this is the best news we have received for our 41st anniversary of independence. And we give God all the praise and glory and honor for this wonderful gift to Dominica. In addition to the funding for the international airport, the special envoy from China informed me that a final decision on visa-free access to China by all citizens of Dominica has received the favorable consideration of the Chinese authorities. Also, the government of China will make a substantial grant contribution to assist with budgetary shortfalls, which will allow the government to implement its projects and programs with no obstacles going forward. Mr. Ambassador, Your Excellency, please convey to the great leader of China, President Xi, and the government and people of China, Dominica's profound gratitude for these most generous gifts which you provided to our people. But while we await the construction of the international airport, we continue to pursue efforts to increase air access. We are in advanced discussions with JetBlue, and we expect that in February 2020, we will have direct flights to Dominica from New York, ladies and gentlemen. We have also concluded negotiations with Silver Airways, formerly Seaborne, and from November 12th, Silver Airways, which has code-share with United, JetBlue, and Avianca, and interline arrangements with American Airlines, Delta, and Air Canada, among others, will be coming in every day from Puerto Rico. They will also be overnighting in Dominica to enable an earlier departure and better connection to our primary source markets. Air Antilles has also increased its flights from 4 days a week to 7 days a week during the peak season, with services into Canefield Airport and Douglas Schultz Airport from Guadeloupe, Fort-de-France, and St. Martin, which will facilitate connections to Europe, the US, and Latin America. While we're improving our air access, plans are also underway to build a new cruise and container port and cruise village. And as I concluded my personal reflections, I thought of the nation builders who will be awarded here today for their sacrifice, selflessness, and contribution to their country. I thought of the many public officers who deserve also to be awarded for their dedication and service. I applaud on behalf of the grateful nation all those who labor without recognition. Building a nation takes thousands of people across the hills and valleys of Dominica, in rural communities, in our capital city, and in our urban areas. Amongst the many unseen nation builders is the nurse holding a patient's hand and giving comfort, the fireman being a good role model in the community, the men and women who cook in restaurants across the country and sell in the market, those who do hair, nails, or clothing, and help to make our women even more beautiful and attractive. The police officer setting a young boy who is going astray back on the right path. The Sunday school teacher praying with that hurting child. The grandparents trying to help children with homework. The farmer working the land and planting crops that will feed you and I. The fisherman in his boat casting his net in the quiet of the morning. I applaud the teacher who will make an indelible mark on the minds and lives of his charges. The technology expert who doesn't know it yet, but who will create an app that will make a difference in Dominica or somewhere else in the world. The teenage boy who wants to bring honor on the cricket or football field. The doctor who knew a patient didn't have the money for his fees, but treated that patient anyway. The public officer in the government department serving the public with respect and kindness. The young woman who will become a leader in a STEM field. The shopkeeper who slips a little something to the elderly people in the community to ensure they get a meal. All of you are valuable. I laud every one of you in this country of ours, Dominica. The nation is built on, with, and for people like you. It is built by those who have made outstanding contributions, and some whose names will be called here today. It is also built by many whose names we do not know and will not be called. Those whom the Bible describes, and I quote, the salt of the earth. And as your Prime Minister, I thank you for what you do every day without fanfare or accolades or awards to build the nation of Dominica. There are others who, by the type, nature, and quality of their service, can only be deemed national treasures. They are demonstrating to the world who Dominicans are. They are defining for the world to see the quality of our character and achievement. They are also showing Dominicans how they too can rise. I speak of Erwin Larocque, Secretary General of CARICOM, Dr. Carissa Etienne, Director of PAHO, and Baroness Patricia Scotland, Secretary General of the Commonwealth. In calling these names, I remember to Dame Eugenia Charles, before Prime Minister Simpson of Jamaica, Bicessa of Trinidad, or Motley of Barbados, little Dominica gave the Caribbean its first female Prime Minister. Our nation has a heritage of which we can be proud, a legacy that is worthy of those who built it. It is the responsibility of the people of a nation to give their best, to ensure the nation's future is secure, its children are cared for, its elderly people are looked after, and the structures which make up the nation are fit for the purpose of giving service to the nation's people. It is your responsibility to choose leaders who will do this on your behalf. As your leader, it is my role and responsibility to carry out that mandate as given to me by you, the people. In every circumstance, I have put Dominica first. I have served the people of this country with everything that God has placed in me as a man. I have chosen a team which I have had to lead in the task of nation building. We move towards an election with a strong economy, a country rebuilt from destruction. We are becoming the climate resilient role model of the region and among developing countries. Our agricultural sector is stronger than it has ever been. Our tourism is growing back by leaps and bounds. We have the newest, best quality public housing in Latin America and the Caribbean. In every respect, I have acted in the mandate given me, and Dominica is a totally transformed country from what it was 20 years ago. We are on the road to a new season of development, and we must not let anyone or anything stop us from getting to our destination. It is my role as Prime Minister. It is the responsibility of my team and I to prepare and articulate a new vision statement for the country that we intend to execute with your permission and support. Therefore, at this time of celebration, I want to share with you some of the elements of the vision for the new season of development of dynamic Dominica. I spoke earlier about the importance of education. Work is underway to revolutionize our education system. We will bring technology into the classroom at the primary and secondary level and outfit our students to function at the optimum in a digital world. There will also be greater emphasis on the STEM subjects. Utilizing technology and the internet, we'll also be expanding the reach of the Dominica State College to introduce the Learn Where You Are program that will allow our nationals to take classes from their villages or communities without having to physically go to a classroom while still obtaining the same quality education and teaching. This government will establish a Dominica Hospitality Institute to train the youth and all others who seek training for the numerous jobs that are coming on stream in the tourism and hospitality sector. There will be a certification programs available for skilled personnel. Equally, there will be a training in a range of construction disciplines in order to develop the skills pool needed for the national construction boom and to supply to the rest of the Caribbean. When we educate and look after a nation's children, we secure the future so that they may secure the generation which follows them. I am building this nation for every Dominican child. You are building it for your children and grandchildren. In this way, the battle of nation building is passed from one generation to the next, and the nation moves into a new season of development. A nation's health is a nation's wealth. To complement the new Dominica China Friendship Hospital, we will have a new administrative structure for the hospital, headed by a CEO with requisite experience to develop protocols and manuals and to supervise and ensure the smooth functioning of the hospital and the delivery of services and care to our patients can be improved. There will also be a system for the continuous training of health personnel. We will also upgrade some of our health centers to well-equipped and staffed polyclinics. A contract has been signed for the construction of a modern, well-equipped hospital for the Marigot Health District, and the Portsmouth Hospital will also be upgraded. Our health infrastructure across the island will be improved in line with our vision to be resilient and to provide five-star service in all services sectors. We'll continue the transformation of the city of Roseau into a resilient, climate-smart city. The makeover and redevelopment of the city will be done with emphasis on 5 key areas: aesthetics, beautification and recreation, business development and job creation, improving parking and relieving congestion, upgrading infrastructure, and welcoming our disabled. We'll continue on our path towards building resilience. With the creed and utilizing our National Resilience Development Strategy, we have developed a plan which targets and the deliverables to make Dominica resilient, with which will be finalized and made available to the general public. We'll conduct a feasibility assessment for the undergrounding of utility lines along the West Coast corridor from Roseau to Portsmouth. We'll rehabilitate the Portsmouth to Hatton Garden Road, widening the roadway and creating 2-lane bridges. And we'll deliver much more. But at the core of our vision is looking after the people of Dominica. This is just not a political or national mandate. For me, it is a spiritual mandate. Truly, we are seeing the emergence of a dynamic Dominica, poised to take off in a way our forefathers never even dreamed of. I call on all Dominicans, at home and abroad, to consider where we have brought Dominica from over the years, what we have had to overcome, and where our country and citizens are today. How the country is positioned based on the strength of our team and our blueprint for nation building and the future of Dominicans. It is said in the book of Proverbs that, and I quote, "Where there is no vision, the people perish," end quote. This Labour Party government has expressed a clear vision to you for building a resilient, prosperous, and dynamic Dominica. No other party has done so. And more importantly, we have shown that we deliver on our promises. We have shown that we have the elements in place to achieve it. The evidence of it is all around you, and you know that in our hands you are very safe. And so, with our nation at 41 years old, as your Prime Minister for the last 15 years, I thank you for the opportunity and honor you have given to me to lead you. I commend this effort in nation building to you, and I say to you, let us recommit to toil with hearts and hands and voices to the further development and building of this nation. Keep your heads focused on what is good for this country. Hold Dominica close in your hearts. Put your hands to the wheel that pushes Dominica upward and forward so that the progress we make is not reversed and we can claim the future that is ahead. This nation is ours. We are building it for our children, for their children, and for the generation after them. We are building the nation of Dominica to carve out our place in history and make our mark on the world. As we commence the journey of fortitude, it is my hope and prayer that we will so vigorously engage in this building effort that history will record that here is a nation of strong, proud, resilient people who withstood the worst, who feared only God, whose strength of character and excellence of conduct so made us stand out that the name of Dominica comes to be revered, and God himself looks on with a smile and says, "Here is the nation and the people whom I love, and I will bless the land and the people forever." Fellow Dominicans, the future of Dominica is bright. The future of Dominica is in your hands. I know that at the appointed time, that you will make the right decision to keep Dominica on this path of growth and development, to keep Dominica secure. I look forward to serving you as your Prime Minister for the next 5 years. Did I hear you say 10 more years? Thank you very much, my dear fellow Dominicans. May God bless you, may God bless your families, and may God bless Dominica and keep our country safe. We have come a long way. We have fought a most difficult fight with natural disasters. But by the grace of God, we have bounced back. And Dominica is safer and more resilient now than we were when Hurricane Maria visited us. And so let us continue to work together in peace and harmony. And remember the words of our Father. My peace I bring you, my peace I give you. Look not on me, but on my Father who has sent me. And let us be guided by this instruction from the Lord. Thank you very much. I love you, Dominica. I love you, Dominica. Let us love our country, and let us be positive about our country. Let us speak positively about our country, and let us all work towards the general progress and development of Dominica. Forward we go in Dominica, ladies and gentlemen. Forward we go in Dominica, ladies and gentlemen. Forward we go, and we shall achieve our goal by the grace of God. Thank you very much. Love you. Let us love each other. Let us promote peace in our land and brotherhood and sisterhood and unity. Thank you very much.
Delivering the 41st anniversary address by the Prime Minister of the Commonwealth of Dominica. And particularly the second half, a very rousing address. It really went in two parts. One was dealing with the past, the last 19 years, and what had been achieved, the challenges, the efforts that were made to overcome these. And then the second half was for the future, basically calling for a dynamic Dominica and a season for development. We're going to be having in a short time the presentation of awards, but you have listened for yourself. In fact, it can be described as a pre-election address. In fact, it was coming to a climax almost that the date of election would be announced. I am sure that within the next week or so, this will happen. But certainly this address was to outline both the past, the efforts that were made, the achievements that were attained, and then the second half, the future, and the efforts that are going to be made. But prime among these was the announcement that Dominica will be constructing an international jet airport funded by the People's Republic of China. That was probably the main announcement here this evening, apart from all the other things, education, health, roads, housing, and the others. But let us now go for the award of those persons, deserving awards, who have done so much for Dominica in their various fields.
Whereas you have rendered meritorious service to the Commonwealth of Dominica, now therefore I, Charles Angelo Sovereign, President of the Commonwealth of Dominica, as aforesaid, by this my warrant, do grant and confer on you the dignity and honor of the Cicero Award of Honor, which I am empowered to bestow on those persons who have rendered meritorious service to the Commonwealth of Dominica. And I do further order by this my warrant that you be awarded the Medal of Honor in recognition of your services to the Commonwealth of Dominica, given under my hand and the public seal of the Commonwealth of Dominica this 3rd day of November 2019. Cicero Award of Honor to Antigua and Barbuda Broadcasting Services, ABS Antigua. The award will be received by Iname Brathwaite, General Manager for ABC. Whereas Antigua and Barbuda Broadcasting Services, ABS Antigua, established in 1965 and broadcasting from St. John's, Antigua, has generously served the Commonwealth of Dominica in mass communication. And whereas you have been a beacon in the Caribbean of the Caribbean values of solidarity and fraternity through your facilitation of communications between Dominica and the world in the aftermath of Hurricane David in 1979 and Hurricane Maria in 2017, when Dominica lost all communications with the rest of the world. And whereas ABS Antigua assistance during the aftermath of those natural disasters was remarkably outstanding, which resulted in timely relief efforts to Dominica, an act that will remain engraved in the minds and hearts of Dominicans. For these services to the Commonwealth of Dominica, you are today presented with the Cicero Award of Honor. Cicero Award of Honor to His Excellency Ambassador Matthew Joseph Walter. Whereas you have rendered stellar and lifelong service to the Commonwealth of Dominica in the field of leadership at both the community and national levels. And whereas you were instrumental in developing your community as a teacher for 20 years and parliamentarian for 19 years, and have positively impacted your students, peers, and associates by your leadership qualities and your eagerness to share time, knowledge, and experience with others. And whereas during your political career, you have served the Commonwealth of Dominica in the capacity of Minister of Agriculture, Fisheries, and Forestry, Minister for Community Development, Gender Affairs, and Information, and is currently the Ambassador of Dominica to Cuba. And whereas your continued leadership for and on behalf of the citizens of Dominica in your capacity as Dominica's Ambassador to Cuba has been central to advancing Dominica's close and fruitful relationships with our brothers and sisters in Cuba. For these services to the Commonwealth of Dominica, you are today presented with the Cicero Award of Honor. Cicero Award of Honor to Dominica Broadcasting Corporation, DBS Radio. And the award will be received by Cecil Joseph, General Manager, and Ivona John Baptist Lugie, Program Director of DBS. Whereas Dominica Broadcasting Corporation, DBS Radio, formerly Windward Islands Broadcasting Services, WIBS, from 1955 to 1971, Radio Dominica in 1971, currently Dominica Broadcasting Corporation, DBS Radio, has been a pillar of service to the Commonwealth of Dominica in mass communication. And whereas in the aftermath of Hurricane David in 1979, Tropical Storm Erika in 2015, and Hurricane Maria in 2017, DBS Radio was at times the only means of broadcasting between Dominica and the rest of the world, instilling reassurance and disseminating information to others. And whereas through a vibrant and informative approach to programming across several frequencies, DBS Radio continues to play a vital role in the promotion of Dominica and all things Dominican, including its indigenous music, Creole language, music festivals, its carnival, and the history and traditions of its people. For these services to the Commonwealth of Dominica, you are today presented with the Cicero Award of Honor. 2019 Meritorious Service Award. For meritorious service to the Commonwealth of Dominica by His Excellency Charles Angelo Sovereign DAH, President of the Commonwealth of Dominica, to Samuel Raphael Esquire, Hamilton Victor Joseph Esquire, Pastor David Curtis Serra, Reverend Father Franklin Coffey, Dr. Jennifer Elwin, John Riviere Esquire, Shane Marshall Esquire. Whereas you have rendered meritorious service to the Commonwealth of Dominica, now therefore I, Charles Angelo Sovereign, President of the Commonwealth of Dominica, as aforesaid, by this my warrant do grant and confer on you the dignity and honor of the Meritorious Service Award, which I am empowered to bestow on the persons who have rendered meritorious service to the Commonwealth of Dominica. And I do further order, by this my warrant, that you be awarded the Meritorious Service Award in recognition of your services to the Commonwealth of Dominica, given under my hand and the public seal of the Commonwealth of Dominica this 3rd day of November, 2019. Meritorious Service Award to Samuel Raphael Esquire. Whereas you have served as a model for all who live and work in the Commonwealth of Dominica in the fields of entrepreneurship, especially in sustainable tourism, distinguishing yourself in various positions of leadership in the field, notably owner, developer, and managing director of Jungle Bay, Dominica, 2016 to present, owner, president of Hummingbird Air, 2012 to 2017, a Caribbean charter aviation company, and ecotourism management consultant from 2007 to 2009. And whereas your unmatched entrepreneurial skill and passion for sustainable development has earned you accolades such as the Virgin Holidays Award for Best Personal Contribution to Responsible Tourism in 2010, and your brainchild, Jungle Bay Resort and Spa, has been cited by the Forbes magazine as one of the top 10 eco resorts in the world, and further named in 2015 by TripAdvisor as the #2 hotel in the Caribbean. And whereas, driven by your sterling sense of patriotic duty, you have facilitated and advanced the development of many, especially through your non-government organizations, Whitey Kubuli Entrepreneurship Level, Southeast Tourism Development Committee, and Open Books, Open Minds. For these services to the Commonwealth of Dominica, you are today presented with the Meritorious Service Award. Meritorious Service Award to Hamilton Victor Joseph Esquire. Whereas you have given 39 years of service to the Commonwealth of Dominica in the development and enhancement of its infrastructure, rehabilitating, maintaining, and constructing roadways in each of the 4 road districts in Dominica. And whereas your intense involvement in the development of our infrastructure did not preclude you from an equally passionate commitment to the development of your community, being actively involved in cricket and as president of the Stock Farm Improvement Committee, through which you were instrumental in having constructed 2 bus stops for the community that has added much value to the quality of life of the residents. For these services to the Commonwealth of Dominica, you are today presented with the Meritorious Service Award. Meritorious Service Award to Pastor David Curtis Serra. Whereas for 35 years you have been diligently and selflessly labored in the Commonwealth of Dominica to improve the spiritual health of the nation in various capacities, notably as pastor of the Deliverance Baptist Church in Goodwill, president of the Dominica Baptist Union, vice president of the Dominica Association of Evangelical Churches, and the president of the Baptist Fellowship Men's Ministry. And whereas you, Pastor Dave, has been exemplary in serving as a Christian leader through your provisions of the 1 to 2 bedroom houses for 150 families across the island, your disaster relief support after Tropical Storm Erica in 2015 and Hurricane Maria in 2017, and your continued involvement in the provision of health services across the island. And whereas, through your ministry and nobility, you have maintained the admiration and respect of persons in all walks of life and at all levels in the community, nationally, regionally, and internationally. For these services to the Commonwealth of Dominica, you are today presented with the Meritorious Service Award. Meritorious Service Award to Reverend Father Franklin Coffey. Whereas you began your religious vocation in 1980 and was ordained Redemptorist priest in July 1984 and was appointed to the St. Anne's Parish with responsibility for the communities of Canefield, Massac, Mahu, Campbell, Desport, and Warner. And whereas you have distinguished yourself, among others, in your ministry with the poor, sick, and the needy through your display of genuine affection and care for school children, exhorting us all to walk according to the teachings of our Savior. And whereas you were instrumental in establishing the St. Vincent de Paul Society in the Commonwealth of Dominica, a voluntary organization of the Catholic Church with special emphasis on the poor, needy, and shut-ins. For these services to the Commonwealth of Dominica, you are today presented with the Meritorious Service Award.
Meritorious Service Award to Dr. Jennifer Elwin. Whereas you have given faithful and dedicated service to the Commonwealth of Dominica as a medical doctor over a period of 32 years, beginning your career at the Princess Margaret Hospital in June 1976 and working there until January 1982, whereupon you proceeded on study leave overseas. And whereas as a medical consultant, you facilitated education sessions at the Princess Margaret Hospital and provided much needed technical support, and as a key player, you ensure the management of both inpatients and outpatients diagnosed with tuberculosis. And whereas upon your retirement from the public service in 2008, you have demonstrated continued commitment to the practice of medicine and make yourself available for consultation voluntarily. For these service to the Commonwealth of Dominica, you are today presented with the Meritorious Service Award. Meritorious Service Award to John Revere, Esquire. Whereas you have selflessly served the Commonwealth of Dominica in the development of cooperatives, especially in furniture and fishing, and whereas through your commitment to nation building, you pioneered the development of the Home Industries Cooperative, which supply the local market with high-quality furniture and provided opportunities for many to learn the craft and to expand the local industry. And whereas you were instrumental in developing the Newtown Fisheries Cooperative into an active entity, serving on its board of directors for a number of years, and you continue to contribute to the development of our communities through your involvement in carnival festivities as a band organizer, band manager, costume builder, an active and long-standing member of the Thunderbirds Band of Newtown, and founder of Carnival Corner of Pottersville. For these services to the Commonwealth of Dominica, you are today presented with the Meritorious Service Award. Meritorious Service Award to Shane Marshall, Esquire. Whereas you have given dedicated service to the Commonwealth of Dominica in developing the sport of football from 1984 as national footballer and as a coach. And whereas through your discipline and efforts as a national footballer, you served in 1990 as captain of the national under-20 team, in 2004 to 2005 as captain of the senior national team, and in 2014 to 2016 as coach of the senior national football team, which went on to play Canada in the 2016 World Cup qualifiers in Canada. And whereas through your dedication to sport and to building young lives in your community, you founded the St. Paul's Football Academy in 2009, which resulted with several of your students being selected to play for the senior national team, 3 of whom are currently pursuing studies in the United States on full scholarships, and another 4 will be joining them. For these services to the Commonwealth of Dominica, you are today presented with the Meritorious Service Award. (2019) Services Medal of Honor. For meritorious service to the Commonwealth of Dominica by His Excellency Charles Angelo Savre, DAH, President of the Commonwealth of Dominica. 2, Ms. Vilna Roye. Stephen Dangleben, Esquire. Peterson Sabroch, Esquire. Whereas you have rendered meritorious service to the Commonwealth of Dominica, now, therefore, I, Charles Angelo Savre, President of the Commonwealth of Dominica, as aforesaid, by this my warrant, do grant and confer on you the dignity and honor of the Services Medal of Honor, which I am empowered to bestow on those persons who have rendered meritorious service to the Commonwealth of Dominica. And I do further order, by this my warrant, that you be awarded the Service Medal of Honor in recognition of your services to the Commonwealth of Dominica, given under my hand and the public seal of the Commonwealth of Dominica this 3rd day of November, 2019, President. Services Medal of Honor to Ms. Vilna Roye. Whereas you, Teacher Vilna, have diligently and passionately served the Commonwealth of Dominica in primary education for 40 years. And whereas you inculcated in your pupils a love for their village and country by giving life to the history of La Puette and the Commonwealth of Dominica through your use of drama, an experience that continues to feature in the minds of your former pupils. And whereas you continue in your retirement to work for the personal development of the members of your community through your leadership in church and community. For these services to the Commonwealth of Dominica, you are today presented with the Services Medal of Honor. Services Medal of Honor to Stephen Dangleben, Esquire. Whereas you have given 34 years of selfless and generous service to the Commonwealth of Dominica in the field of broadcasting and entertainment. And whereas you have used your talent to produce programs that have sought to educate listeners about the Commonwealth of Dominica and to promote the island through the airways, having played a lead role in such memorable programs as Experience Creole from 1985 to 1989, Good Morning Dominica, Opinion Time, and Did You Know? And whereas you continue to help develop the Dominican society by your membership for 6 years on the Trafalgar, Shawford, Forkani Village Council, your membership in Carriman, Caribbean Male Action Network, and your work with the Dominica Infirmary. For these services to the Commonwealth of Dominica, you are today presented with the Services Medal of Honor. Services Medal of Honor to Peterson Nestor Sarbrook, Esquire. Whereas you have rendered 39 years of faithful and dedicated service in the field of nursing to the Commonwealth of Dominica. And whereas throughout your nursing career, you displayed a high level of commitment and dedication. And whereas you rendered devotively 16 years of your nursing career to specialized care for psychiatric patients. For these services to the Commonwealth of Dominica, you are today presented with the Services Medal of Honor. (2019) Long Service Medal for meritorious service to the Commonwealth of Dominica by His Excellency Charles Angelo Savre, DAH, President of the Commonwealth of Dominica, to Mrs. Tari Williams, Miss Missy Lander, Mrs. Nellie Fabian Joseph. Whereas you have rendered meritorious service to the Commonwealth of Dominica, now therefore I, Charles Angelo Savre, President of the Commonwealth of Dominica as aforesaid, by this my warrant, do grant and confer on you the dignity and honor of the Long Service Medal, which I am empowered to bestow on those persons who have rendered meritorious service to the Commonwealth of Dominica. And I do further order, by this my warrant, that you be awarded the Long Service Medal in recognition of your services to the Commonwealth of Dominica, given under my hand and the public seal of the Commonwealth of Dominica this 3rd day of November, 2019. President. Long Service Medal to Mrs. Tari Williams. Whereas you have given faithful and dedicated service to the Commonwealth of Dominica in the field of education as a primary school teacher from 1972 to 1996, and as a principal from 1996 until your retirement in 2009. And whereas you impacted positively your students, peers, and associates by your sympathetic and loving nature. And whereas integrity, honesty, respect, love, hard work, and service have characterized your career as a public officer, and you have consistently sought to instill those values and virtues in those under your supervision. For these and other services to the Commonwealth of Dominica, you are today presented with the Long Service Medal. Long Service Medal to Miss Missy Catherine Lander. Whereas you began your career as a nurse in September 1972, you were appointed as a staff nurse on July 1, 1976, and you completed successfully the midwifery program in September 1982, and the family nurse practitioner course in 1986. And whereas for over 40 years, you provided quality care service to the Princess Margaret Hospital and the community of Lapland and its environs until your retirement from the public service in 2013. And notwithstanding your retirement from the public service, you continue to make your services available to the Roseau Health District. And whereas your career as a nurse can be characterized as one of dedication, compassion, love, and respect, you often went beyond the call of duty to render quality service to your patients. For these and other services to the Commonwealth of Dominica, you are today presented with the Long Service Medal.
Long Service Medal to Mrs. Nellie Fabian Joseph. Whereas you have rendered 44 years of sacrificial, dedicated, and exemplary service in your career as qualified and graduate teacher at primary schools in the north and northeast of Dominica. And whereas with ambition, discipline, and indomitable spirit, you went on to qualify yourself in the teaching field by achieving a teacher training certificate from the University of the West Indies and a Bachelor of Science degree in elementary education from the University of Southern Caribbean. And whereas you positively impact your students, peers, and associates as a role model, not only in the schools you taught, but also in the community and the church. For these services to the Commonwealth of Dominica, you are today presented with the Long Service Medal. Thank you very much, Your Excellency, for honoring those persons who have rendered meritorious service to the Commonwealth of Dominica. I now invite Ms. Warb Duet 2019 to present bouquets to Mrs. Sovereign, wife of His Excellency the President, and Mrs. Skerritt, wife of the Honorable Prime Minister.
So here we are back again after the well-deserved award. So here we are back again after the well-deserved awards that were presented by His Excellency the President for a wide variety, in fact, of contributions to Dominica. Of course, we had the 2 radio stations. There has been a pattern over the years now to include groups and companies. For instance, in the case of the Antigua radio station and DBS radio station. But earlier, in the last few years, similar awards have been given to organizations and individuals who are part of organizations rather than individuals for their own work alone. And then, of course, we had the service medals for education and health. And in terms of broadcasting, the meritorious service to Stephen Dangleman, of course, elicited a great outpouring of applause from the audience, because every morning, and for many years, for something like 34 years, they have had the company of Stephen Dangleman. So it's natural that popular persons such as that will get this grand applause. But that does not mean that the other people who were there
My name is Richmond Valentine,
Superintendent
of
contribute
Police.
so widely to various aspects
This evening,
of our country.
I will be providing
Now, I am going to be
on the precision
overawed
drill
by
display
the announcements
and the
that are
match
coming
pass.
from the stage, but basically to
they are
say
in the
that we are
process
moving
of
into the
preparing
last phase
to march
of
on
our
parade.
here, where the uniformed groups are going to be coming back out on the parade ground, and they will be performing in slow and quick march and in various other formations as we bring this 41st anniversary parade to a close. So we'll now pass on to the announcer, who will be actually describing one of the members of the the Commonwealth of Dominica Police Force, who will be actually describing the parade that is taking place. So we'll hand over now to the arrival of the uniformed groups into the parade ground in readiness for their movements across the grounds, and for the description that will be given by the officer of the Commonwealth of Dominica Police Force.
The drill display is about 7 minutes long. The musical accompaniment is provided by the Cadet Corps Band. About 35 officers will execute the display, which comprises of foot movements and arms drill. Corporal Alvin Gachet is dressing the display. The dressing of the display is concluded, and so they are on their own. They have just changed formation. composition of the display is comprised of 27 recruits and 9 regular police officers. They are now changing formation. If you notice, they are moving, but they are really not going anywhere. They are now going to change formation. They are now going to form back into 6 ranks and to display another foot movement. They are now executing a number of rifle movements. All right, so that ends the first phase. So they are now going to join the main body in preparation for the march past. Leading the march past will be the Dominica government band. The parade commander is Superintendent Davidson Valerie. Second in command is Assistant Superintendent George Theophile. The commander of number 1 platoon is Inspector Simon Edwards. Number 2 platoon, Inspector Davidson Cadet. Platoon number 3, Inspector Fixton Henderson. Number 4, Principal Prison Officer Handel Joseph. And 5, Substation Officer Wayne Letter of the Fire and Services Ambulance. Platoon number 6, Captain Sherwin Mitchell. And platoon number 7, Captain Lovett Charles. We also have Warrant Officer Class 1, Clayton McIntyre, in charge of the color party. And of course, the bandmaster, Mrs. Valina Leta. Superintendent Valerie will now dress the parade in preparation for the march past. Corporal Gachet is now dressing the parade. The parade now is properly dressed and ready to take off. So we have 3 police platoon at the front, followed by the color party, and then we have the fire and ambulance services, prison service, and the Dominica Cadet Corps. So on the 4th pace, they're going to change rifle position from the shoulder to the slope. And they will continue in that formation for the entire slow march. So number 1 platoon commander just gave the word of command, eyes right. With the exception of the right-hand man, all the other officers on parade, head and eyes would have turned to the right. The color party is a mixture of police and cadets. Once the eyes front is given, the platoons will maintain their formation. However, the position of the rifle will change from the slope to the recover. They are now going to break from slow into quick. If you notice, they have changed formation and also the position of the rifle. Once the platoons get into position, they will wait on the band who will cause them to halt. The cadet band will now move into position before we prepare for the advance in review order. The parade commander is moving into position so that the final dressing can be executed by the officers on parade in preparation for the advance in review order. The advance in review order, the officers will march 15 paces forward and halt. So we're going to have the final salute and the national anthem. Please stand for the national anthem. This concludes the march pass. Thank you for watching.
Please remain standing. As we allow His Excellency to lead the parade. Followed by the Honorable Prime Minister and Mrs. Kerry.
And so we have it. Great finale to our 41st anniversary of Independence Parade here at Windsor Park, where 41 years ago, on the night of the 2nd of November, the new flag of Dominica was raised and a new nation was born. Here we are in a completely transformed Windsor Park. And tonight, we heard from the Prime Minister an account of the last 19 years, first part of his speech, reviewing all of the challenges and the achievements of that time, and then in the second part, promising for the future, the next phase, what he called Dynamic Dominica, a new season of development. And the crowds, of course, rising all as the departure of the Prime Minister, his wife and family is announced. main things to come out of the speech was that the Chinese government has agreed to finance an international airport for Dominica, with earth-moving beginning in January, February 2020. That was the main part, but also it included all of the potential developments, the continuation of the tourism product, the diversification of the economy into tourism, and also the boosting of areas of health and education, road building to complement the airport project in the north and in other areas of Dominica. And so I hope that you enjoyed this broadcast that gave you an overview of the events today, the march past, the awards to the deserving Dominicans who contributed to their country, and also the message from the Prime Minister on the future of Dominica. Let's now move over to the grounds and to the Prime Minister's departure.
Deputy Prime Minister, Madam Speaker, and other officials can now follow.